Okay. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. And on a side note, I just want to say what a great day this is for all our organizations. This has been quite a journey, and I'll tell you a little bit about it now. But I was telling my wife before, I don't know if this might be one of the best days in the whole thing for us, because at the end of the day, this has been all fueled by the work of our program and the good that we're doing, and how this all came about was just that. So it's a great example for us of the good that can be done. So I thank everybody in the room for making that possible for us. So one thing, I don't have the schedule with me, quick schedule change. Everybody's coming to my house after you're done here today. I don't know, Kevin, can I do that? Anyways, when Kevin told me that we were going to do this, I looked at what the date of the week was, and you'll ask why, and there was some significance, and I saw it landed on a Wednesday, and which is a big day for me, and I want to kind of start by giving this thing a little context. I have gotten into, about a year ago or so, my doctor, I got in a little trouble with my own doc, and he called me a hypocrite. All right, and I said, what do you mean I'm a hypocrite? He says, well, you're so busy, traveling around the country and the world and telling everybody, how art can help and change people's life. He says, how about taking care of yourself? So I made a promise to him and a commitment. Every Wednesday morning at 6 in the morning, I paint, regardless of what I'm doing, regardless of where I am. And it does two things. One, obviously, it gives me some peace of mind, which is how this whole thing started. But the other thing, it's a reminder. It's a reminder to me that, I have something that I got to take care of. So it worked out nicely for me that today was Wednesday morning. So while everybody here was either sleeping or getting ready or having their cup of coffee, I came over to what now is Peace Love Studios, FCA, and I painted. So, and what I had the chance to do was one that I'm going to leave here for you guys, and you can see that's yours truly, my alter ego. Don't I wish I was that cool, right? And I thought to set the tone here, a young boy and a young girl, because I think at the end of the day, what we're doing here is going to impact so many children. And but I didn't finish it, and I wanted to add the last key embellishments to it. I noticed my hands. It's funny. My hands shake when I paint, and a kid was sitting in the front, I was speaking one time, and he said to me, he says, your hands are shaking. I said, no shit, why do you think I'm painting, So, anyway, you think this is easy, huh? No, anyways. So, but there's two, at Peace Love, we've got there's two special ingredients that at the end of the day is what it's all about. And now I'm going to finish what that is. And one is that. And the other is that, very simple, two icons, the peace symbol and the heart. And when you combine them, what it gets this. And, when I painted that 10 years ago, I had no idea that it would lead us on this journey. For me, it was very personal at the time. It stood for peace of mind and love in your heart, the two things that I was most desperate for in my life. And I know today everybody put on their tag what gives them peace of mind, and I think at the end of the day, and it's a good message, I think, for this audience as well, the world moves really quickly, our lives move really quickly, and just stop and think about what's really important in your life. It might be different than what you think. So anyways, with that, I'd like to, when we first started, I used the word, look, I'm a big dreamer, right? I said, maybe we'll build a movement, right? And I said I couldn't use the word movement, too big. You can't say the word movement. But at the end of the day, that's exactly, what we're doing. Peace Love is building a movement. And at the end of the day, it's about stories, and many stories. And I'm just a single person with a story. There's millions of more stories. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about my story. I grew up in Providence, Rhode Island. I went to, thank you. Went to prep school at Moses Brown School in Providence, and I went on to The Ohio State University. Thank you. I was a tennis player. I went there on scholarship. Started for 4 years, was captain of the team, had a really successful career, and came home after college and went into my family's business. They had a big textile business, and so I'm 23 years old, and I look like I got the world at my feet. It all looks perfect. Meanwhile, I'm going crazy, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. But as I like to tell people, fortunately, I was one of the lucky ones, and I believe that because I made my way to Butler Hospital, which is one of the leading psychiatric hospitals, which is in Rhode Island, and I got diagnosed with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. And for the last 30 years now, I've fought a debilitating illness that affects me every day of my life, even as I stand up here in front of you, and it all looks good. I like to tell people, mental illness. I asked all the time why we haven't made the kind of progress that I think we need to make as a society. And my answer has always been the same, invisible and misunderstood. That's a tough combination. How do you tackle something you can't see and you can't understand? But again, I don't know how familiar are you. I know we have a pharmaceutical group here. Are people familiar with OCD? It's characterized by unwanted thoughts that come into your mind that fuel tremendous levels of anxiety. One of the things that people ask all the time, and I think is most difficult to understand, is what that's like. People will come up to me all the time and say, "Oh yeah, I got OCD," and I'll say, "No, you don't have OCD." And on top of that, it's become very popular on television and with hand checking and Monk and all this stuff. And the best way that I've been able to explain it to people, picture this, if you will. You're with your 2 or 3 year old in an airport in a busy terminal, and you turn around for a minute, right? You're not paying attention, and then you turn back, right? And there's no kid. Everybody can understand that at some level. For people like me, I have that kind of level of anxiety over something that's completely ridiculous. And it's completely ridiculous, but it's real, and it carries that kind of anxiety. And if that's not bad enough, it forces you into compulsions and to lower that level of anxiety. And for me, it comes in the form of mental repetitions and having to visualize things a certain amount of times in my mind and over here and over here. And it can be debilitating for people. But again, I'm here telling you I'm one of the lucky ones, through medication, a loving family, supportive wife, and exposure therapy, which is difficult work, which I do to this day. I've been able to have this wonderful life, but all the time, fighting and looking for more. I've always been waiting to get hit by that lightning bolt, that I wake up and, okay, it's gone. Well, that's not going to happen. But again, as fate would have it, and you can't make up the stuff that's happened in my journey. And about 20 years ago, I'm coming home from work one day. So check this out, right? Somebody says to me that painting might be good for me. Well, I haven't painted a day in my goddamn life, right? Actually, you guys painted more today than I'm thinking about it. Everybody must be feeling really good today. Everybody's painting, right? Anyways. When you're desperate, you'll try anything. So I stopped, I rerouted the car, went over to the supply store, picked up a bunch of supplies, and came home to my apartment. And you've all seen Forrest Gump, right? And how he ran. You're looking at the Forrest Gump of painting. I never stopped. And it literally changed the course of my life. It gave me a sense of control that mental illness robs you of. It provided me a way through images and paintings to be able to say what I couldn't, or communicate what I couldn't say in words. And I painted paintings like Stop the Madness and Half Daddy and 1 in 4, and people connected to my work. And to be honest with you, when I first started, I sucked. But what started as a canoe and a landscape all of a sudden started becoming things that people were connecting, to. And then that again led to an improbable career as an artist as well. And people, for whatever the reason, they connected to maybe my story, my willingness to give people some insight, my whimsical style, my titles, and people wanted to start to buy my work. And, at the time, most of the time, I would just give it to people. Well, my cousin, Matthew Kaplan, who's our co-founder, came to me and explained to me that wasn't a great business proposition for my career. And he offered to be my agent. Let me think about it, my agent. So, okay, let's do it. So he was not bashful. And 2 months later, he had a one-man show for me. Again, sounds kind of ridiculous, like I'm on Broadway, right? So we have this one-man show, and he comes up to me at the end of the evening, and he's all pumped and excited. And I said to him, geez, how'd it go? And he says, oh, you're not going to believe this. He says, we sold $15,000 of art tonight. I said, holy crap. And he says, what do you want to do with the money? I can think of a lot of things to do with 15 grand, And I didn't have the answer. Then all of a sudden, I had like that out-of-body kind of thing go on. I said, something? I said, I paint. I said, it makes me feel better, maybe to help somebody else. That's it. That's how it all started. 2 weeks later, showed up on a children's psychiatric ward at a hospital that not only was I a board member of, but I was a patient. And I showed up in that hospital, and I had a bag of supplies over my shoulder of canvases and foam brushes and paints. I looked ridiculous. I was a cross between like a robber and Santa Claus, And I got onto that unit. And for those of you that haven't been on a children's unit like that, it's a sad thing, especially for a guy who had 3 kids. And I quickly realized that, I had no qualifications. I wasn't a doctor. I wasn't an art therapist. I was just a nobody, just a guy who just wanted to help. So I quickly deduced that I would do the only thing I was qualified to do, and I told these kids my story and tried to give them some hope and maybe some smiles over a very difficult situation. And to be honest with you, I was caught off guard. I was caught off guard by the impact it was having on the children, their parents, the therapists, the docs, and maybe most importantly on myself as I was kind of witnessing this. And I remember one of the early classes that we were at, young boy, I'd like to shake everybody's hand when they come into, if anybody ever gets to take a class with me, you'll get to shake my hand. And this young boy, Brandon, comes in, and I put my hand out like this, and he walks by me like this, and I'm going, whew. And the therapist comes up to me and apologizes to me and says, Jeff, sorry, Brandon, here's voices. So we start the class, and, we're painting, and all of a sudden, he's back. Okay, now he's sitting at the end of the table. I remember like it was yesterday, right? And he's sitting there, and, he starts painting, and I see him smile, and I'm going to get in. Tough story, I always get all choked up. He's sitting over there, and I always like I pick one kid that I have a little fun with, right? So I walk up to him, and I tap him on the shoulder, and I said, Brandon, I said, there's one kid every time they do it to me. I said, you must be the kid from the Art Academy that they flew in here to make me look bad. And he looks at me like this, and he says, no. He says, I'm not from the Art Academy. He says, I'm mentally ill. And I stopped, and I looked him in the face, and I said, so am I. Well, like that can't get any better. He does his painting, and then he comes up and gives his painting to my wife and asks if it can hang next to one of my paintings in our studio and if we can sell it. So, I went to my car that night like I do most of the time I teach, and, I'm a sentimental guy anyways, and I was probably crying. But this time it was different tears. It was tears of knowing that, maybe, I'd stumbled on something that was kind of part motivational, part inspirational, part you can do it, all kind of wrapped into this message of hope. And so we started. And Matt and I ran around, and, we blew through $15,000 pretty quickly, going anywhere that would have us to just follow kind of our hunch and the magic that we saw that was in front of us. Again, you can't kind of make it up. Around the same time in my life, the Discovery Channel had found out about my story, and they were doing a documentary, and they were trying to put a face on mental illness. So I signed up for that job, and they came to Rhode Island and followed me and my family for 3 days, and Jen and I gave them complete access to our lives for 3 days in the hope of doing just that. And the piece aired, I don't know, maybe 3 months later, and the first time you watch it, you're watching like this, and it was wonderful. They did it. It was something we were really proud of, and I'd love to share the link with anybody. But it was rewatching it. Again, I had this out-of-body thing, and I watched it once, okay. I watched it second time, the third time, maybe the fourth time I watched this thing, I'm thinking to myself, I want to be that guy, That guy's cool. He's calm, he's collective, he's kind of inspirational. I said, why can't I be him, right? Well, I remember not too long after that, going to my dad, and I think we all know parents is a great source of inspiration. My mom's here today, and I thank her. She and my father who passed, none of this was possible, without their inspiration. And I asked my father, and, I was explaining this kind of revelation to him, and keep in mind, I'm running his company, And, he said to me, he said, son, he said, you got to find whatever it is in life that you can do better than anybody. He says, I don't know what it is, but you got to find it. Well, the truth was he didn't have the answer because nobody's got the answer but yourself. So shortly thereafter, I'm in my studio, and if you ever watch me paint, it is just pure chaos, and kind of like the 50 people in that room today. It is just chaos, organized chaos, Kevin, sorry. It is, and it's joy, and it's whimsical, and I'm doing it, and I keep painting, and I paint my guy, my alter ego, and then I start making kind of like these rings, which was kind of like a target. And I started to think to myself, well, kind of like the outside of the ring, if you can picture this. I said, I think I'm an empathetic, kind of father, son, husband, friend, given my own struggles. And it got a little smaller. I said, I'm someone that understands the impact of art and how it can change people's lives, because I was living it. Got a little smaller. Someone that was a teacher and a mentor. I couldn't have imagined in a million years that I would ever be in those places in my life. And then it got even a little smaller, someone that suffered from mental illness, because unless you live it, you can't possibly know it. And then there was that dot that I hit, that target, that bullseye. And I said, maybe for whatever set of reasons, I said, I'm someone that's uniquely qualified to communicate and articulate a message of hope and acceptance on what I knew was a very difficult subject. My background is marketing. I was interested, fascinated, and disgusted simultaneously by the fact that it appeared as if every cause had something, right? There's a pink ribbon, there's a yellow bracelet, AIDS has product red. Everybody's got something, right, to rally behind. Well, how about me, and how about the tens of millions of other people and their families and their loved ones? What do we have to rally behind? Nothing. So I got this crazy idea. As Allison was saying, that we'd go out and try to make mental illness cool. Not cool to have it, I can assure you, but cool to support it. I had painted that symbol that you see 10 years ago, and it was very significant to me. And I dreamed that someday that maybe that symbol might stand as a beacon of hope and acceptance for mental health someday. And I also dreamed that that art might someday, we might be able to get it to millions of people and help them find peace of mind, just like myself. So we started, and this is, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago, with a dream. And here we are, fast forward, 5-6 years later. I couldn't imagine that I'd be sitting on this stage talking to a company like yours, doing this. And today we've got organizations like the CVS's of the world, and Michael's, and Guitar Center, Alex and Ani, Jockey, and major companies coming on board in support of our work. We've got a program, which our Amy will tell you about after, called Creators, which is a line of expressive arts programming that's all different artistic forms. Fortunately for all of you, I paint and don't sing. But today it's all the art forms. It's visual arts, it's movement, it's sound. I don't care what you do, just do something. The problem with art, and again, it can be life-changing, and believe me, it'll change a lot of lives in this building that people like you are helping support. Unfortunately, it's the first thing taken out of just about every budget, whether it's inner city schools, VA, hospitals. So I think Matt and I's interest from the first day was, I might not be the brightest guy, but you can have the best thing in the world. If you can't get it to people, you can't help them. So we said, how can we develop something someday that we can actually get to millions of people? And Creators was the answer to that. And you'll hear after her tell you a little bit about how we're empowering and equipping frontline professionals all throughout the country to take our programming and actually help people and find peace of mind. It's beyond what I could have ever dreamed. So I'd like to, just in closing, I thought, I want to tell you one quick story that I thought was a good one and appropriate for today. This is maybe 2-3 years ago. I was out in the community teaching at a hospital, and that day I was encouraging the kids to paint what gives them peace of mind. And it's not uncommon that the kids sometimes, they don't know what they want to paint. So I went over to this one girl, Stacy, and she had a blank canvas and nothing, right? So I'm walking around the room, and I kid you not, I walk around, and I'm talking to every kid, checking the canvas out, and I come back, and she's here, right? And this might have taken 6-7 minutes. I come back, and I see this painting, all right? And usually I'd have a picture of it, but I'll explain it to you. It was one of the most incredible things I'd ever seen, beautiful colors, and on it, it just had the words, "Dream big." I mean, I was speechless, right? So I got down and I said to her, I said, "It's beautiful." I said, "Can you explain that?" And she said to me, "Jeff, no matter what you have going on in your life," I said, you can always dream big because there's always hope. Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I can't say it any better than that kid. We all have the opportunity to make a difference in the world, and what a better setting today in front of you folks where we're all doing that than to say thank you and for believing this is all possible, and dream big because it's all possible. Thank you very much.